Our next presentation is by Harini Janakiraman, titled Building Agentic AI Workflows and Tools for Your Agents. In today's rapidly evolving business landscape, organizations are exploring innovative ways to leverage AI within existing workflows. Harini is the co-founder and CEO of Buildship, a platform that bridges the gap between no-code simplicity and the power of code and AI. Under her leadership, Buildship is transforming how developers, makers, and creators bring ideas to life. Let's welcome Harini with a round of applause.
Thanks, everyone. Great to be here. So today's talk is going to be more casual demo kind of style. So feel free to have any, I'll answer all questions towards the end of it. So yeah, I'm Harini Janakiraman, co-founder, CEO of Buildship. And today we're going to see how we can build AI workflows visually with low code and AI. So obviously everybody here and everywhere in the world wants to leverage AI, and they might be exploring in different phases and stages of their exploration, right? So you might have obviously done the chat UIs, or you might have explored a lot of code copilots. Everybody uses them at some capacity to generate and not start with a blank screen. Or you might also have explored app builders like V0, Lovable, Bolt. I mean, I think there's something new launching almost every day of like taking a prompt and building and shipping a full app. And then obviously the AI agents itself, where beyond just connecting to your chat UIs and app building, it's something that happens in the background, connected to your tools and database and flows to do work for you, almost like someone you're hiring. So invariably of where you are in this journey, where you're exploring and integrating it within your company, different companies obviously expanding this in different segments, right? So 83% of leadership across the world is exploring how they can have AI useful in their applications. 77% of them are actually still in that exploration phase, and 74% of them are still trying to actually derive value from it. And so we're going to see how you can go from just vibe coding, building something up quickly like a demo purpose, to actually doing something scalable, production grade, actually deployed and integrated, connected to your database and tools. So that's the demo today. And we're going to address these three kind of challenges that are in the pathway of someone actually adopting AI, be it dev skills, maybe someone is just a front-end developer, or like someone who is not comfortable coding but has ideas that they want to deploy. It could be compliance and securities within their company, or is in plain general complex because the concepts are evolving almost every day. So we're going to see how you can go from natural language, where you can say, hey, I want to build like a lead qualifier flow where I want to identify if it's a personal email or a business email. I want to figure out something about this person, see if they're qualified, and then actually add it to my database, something like that. But just from natural language to actually production grade scalable workflow. And we'll be using Google Cloud. So Google Cloud has all the ingredients for building this, right? It has not just Gemini, it has Cloud Run, it has database, it has ability to run cron jobs, it has all the kind of different ingredients you need to ship something actually useful. And we'll also be using Buildship, which is an AI workflow builder, where you can drag and drop and visually build what you want to build. You can type this kind of natural language experience, and you can get an actual workflow with code access that you can actually deploy to your Google Cloud. So yeah, let's jump into the demo. So on Buildship, we have a free tier, you can get started. What happens under the hood is everybody gets a Google Cloud project automatically created. You don't need to jump through the Google Cloud console to set up things and billing and whatnot. You just get this free project, you can start exploring. And when you build a workflow, you can think about, let's first give it a name. Let's call it lead gen news, something like that. And you can think of every workflow as something that goes from input to output. So let me make it slightly bigger. Yes, yeah. So let me zoom in more. Yeah, so at a very basic level, every workflow, invariably, or whether you're building it visually or in code, always starts with some bunch of input variables, some logic, and what is the output, right? This is kind of like the function building aspect. So similar concept, you can build a simple input set list. So let's say in your lead generation form, maybe it's in your website, maybe it's in your app, you're collecting, usual stuff of information like name, email, maybe you're collecting some other questions like, what are you building? So you can basically build anything. And as you can see, everything here is almost like a variable, right? You can select the variable type. You can have default values, if it's a sensitive information, required field and whatnot. So just like a typical variable building form. And then you can build your logic. So you can have access to all these pre-built nodes we have, or you can create your own with AI. So if you want to, say, use Gemini, for example, we have a bunch of Gemini nodes available here that you can use. You can generate text. You can also use a lot of Google Cloud nodes we have ready to use. For example, you can use Google Cloud Storage. You can use, even the Secret Manager, Vision, moving file, and all these kind of other services that GCP provides. So for the purpose here, let's just use something called AI switch. So let's say that, hey, you're passing one value from the previous node to the next node, right? So you can just say, if my incoming kind of input of email has, and here, instead of building an AI switch, like in programming, you're just, telling in prompt. So you can say, if this has business email, take the first path. If it is personal email, like Gmail, take the second path, and maybe you can have like a fallback path. And in the first path, you can have like things like setting variables. So you can have set variable and say, okay, I want to create a new variable called type. And I want to set this to business user. And I want to set the same variable type to personal user. And then finally, some kind of fallback one where you say, check what's going on here. So what's interesting here is that, obviously you're building visual blocks of workflow here. There are a lot of tools like this, right? Like Zapier and whatnot. But here, what we have done differently is that we give you access to code at every individual level. So if you want to dig deeper and actually change the logic of every node, you have full code access. You can, this is just JavaScript, TypeScript, so you can actually change the code fully. You can test out individual nodes. You can also create your own nodes. For example, you can say with AI, hey, given this, I want to use this logic, I want to return something. You can use any NPM package, any API. You can just copy paste some documentation from, say, a new AI model that launches. You can create your own nodes this style. And then what's interesting is you can test every single node and workflow fully. So let me just say the output is my local variable that I just created. And let's test it out. So let's just give some email. And while this is building and running, I want to highlight a few other things as well. So here you can see that everything that we do here is accessible in the sense of it's actually using a GCP service under the hood. So for example, here we have added OpenAI's API key. You can create your own keys. You can use readily available keyless node experience as well. But this is using the secret manager under the hood. And so you can actually essentially build this whole workflow on GCP. It's almost like an IDE that is visual for it. So yeah, as you can see, this came back. It tells what flow it took. It tells you that it's a business user. So if I just change it to say Gmail, it'll come back, personal. And you can actually continue building upon this logic. So let me zoom out a bit here. Yeah, so it came back personal. So this is step-by-step building a logic block. Now, if you want to further say, okay, now if it's a business user, only in that scenario, I want to further figure out if it's a lead that is qualified for my business, I can use, say, Perplexity or Gemini or something to do a bit more research about the business domain and figure out if that is a useful company for me. So I can just pass on things and, do prompting here. So you can edit the prompts. You can pass variables in this prompt. So you can say, what does this company do? And you can just pass in the variable. So here my input email, that's kind of the domain here. You can also change this to JavaScript and actually add code. So This is at a very high level what you can do with Buildship. We have a few more examples. So if you want to actually, instead of doing this style, if you want to just completely build the flow with AI, just the way vibe coding happens, you can do that as well. So you just, we have a new feature actually launching really soon, where you can chat with it to create the flow in the flow builder mode. You can, same concept, say what you were just doing. So let me copy this here, where I'm just saying, hey, I have a simple form with name and email. I want to use Gemini to figure out if the email is a business user or a personal user, and so on. And if I enter that, it'll kind of build this entire flow for you, and it'll step by step tell what's happening in individual boxes. You can verify and make sure that's what you want, and then you can start building it. And this way you effectively are able to generate the flow, test it. And the more interesting part here is that once you are happy and satisfied with this workflow, you can basically ship it and connect it to any kind of use trigger points. So at the very basic level, you can do an API trigger. You can say, hey, every time this API is called, run this workflow. You can schedule it at a specific time. You can even attach it to like Firebase authentication, or when a data in your database changes. We have lots of triggers here. You can also create your own triggers. So we have like a deep integration with Flutterflow. So if you're building with Flutter or any app, you can also try that out. So essentially, let's say you're building an API. You can just give the path for the API, click connect, and immediately you get this instant URL that you can start using in your apps. We also have this handy usage section, which gives you how you can use this in your apps. We also have this AI handoff. So if you're using, say, V0 or Bolt or Lovable, you can just copy this and give it to your app. So you can build a nice front end for it, maybe branded with your own logos and stuff for lead form, or even a complete app. So here you're able to visually create the API. You didn't have to like hop through the GCP console, figuring out how to deploy and things like that. And the good thing is you can start off here like an MVP really quick. You can also deploy and connect this to your GCP. You can start building on your GCP. So you can use this as an IDE for your Google Cloud environment and kind of package all the things you typically use in this kind of an easy, accessible manner. So yeah, roughly that's kind of high level what we do. We also have done like lots of interesting templates. For example, this is like a gameplay creation template. You can copy it from our templates library here. So if I go back here, on our templates library, we have a lot of popular use cases. But here, for example, it seems like a really complex thing, but what it actually does is parallelly does a bunch of things. You can simply say a theme for your game, and it goes and creates first a couple of assets for your game, like the storyline, and then it kind of goes and actually figures out, okay, let me generate images for different kind of assets this game would require, even voiceover with 11 Labs, for example, and kind of stitches all of them together in the output here. So you can define what the output of your workflow is. So by simply giving the game theme, I got all these assets that I can then use in my front-end app. Say, for example, I built a Webflow website that uses this API where someone can just enter the game they want to play, and then it gives you all these, figure out who's the murderer kind of a game, and then it gives you all these suspects and their storyline and the voices, so that then someone can play and then submit the answer. So that's kind of what Buildship does at a high level. But going back, what we have actually tried to achieve here is that, we want to do the natural language to workflow building, but in an experience that actually takes all the ingredients from Google Cloud and kind of gives you a thing that can actually deploy and continue to build on, rather than something that is just like a toy that may or may not work out. So yeah, we have basically a bunch of things that, would help you out, and I'm happy to answer any questions here. We have a few case studies, and then what you can actually build is APIs, schedule jobs, backend tasks, and also tools for your agent. This is an area where we are currently exploring and have a release coming soon, which basically allows you to, in the same kind of visual experience, build tools for your agents. So your agents are only as good as the tools it has, so it can only do the job. So invariably of the agent being in a specific kind of a model, you can have like a standardized tools and MCPs that you can build in this visual style, deploy to your either local servers or get the code that you can deploy anywhere or host it on Buildship itself. So yeah, roughly that's what we are doing. We kind of combining the power of code and no code, because obviously, most of people in our team are developers as well. When we use a tool that has like fully no code experience and you get stuck at some point, it's not nice to then have to go back and build in code. So we always believe in like having code access in everything we are doing. So for example, here, every node's logic is available. You can change it. This here is a very simple Gemini call for checking if something is a business email or not. And you can actually go back and change the logic up as well. Yeah. So yeah, essentially it allows you to control your data, do all these AI workflows without the actual complexity of figuring out which API to use, how to use it, the documentation and stuff like that. But actually you can focus on your business logic. You also have like keyless experience where, you might, I feel like at least when you're trying to use AI quickly, you have to go and set up API key in some console and do something else somewhere else. So instead of like focusing on that, you can focus on building the logic for your business, and then focus on getting your own key and all that later when cost optimization becomes a thing for you. We have a few case studies of companies using it in different styles. For example, World Health Organization uses it for their RAG platform connected to different kind of data sources. We have another production example of an insurance provider in US using this for checking if someone has access and eligible for insurance before actually taking them on a client. So this kind of gives them additional revenue instead of doing manual phone call based checking. We also have an example of someone using 11 Labs voice agents connected to different tools on their website, where basically they can book demos and things really fast and with more context rather than like just a form. So yeah, happy to answer any questions. We have a really good community online across Discord and various places for low code AI builders. So happy to answer any questions, or if any use cases you're after, we can chat as well. Yes. Yeah, so what we do is actually, so each step doesn't map to a Lambda, but so whole entire flow is kind of mapped as a Cloud Run job, so that we kind of optimize it for you. Even though it looks visually like split up into many things, we consolidate that into one optimized workflow for you. And when there's like parallel execution, yeah, exactly. So it does all the development logic like parallel. We have things like branching, loop. We can do like loop, but with specifically the async experience as well. So yeah, you do all those things, but under the hood, it's just the programming equivalent of it. Yeah. Yeah.
So just confirming, do you get to choose AI, the job that we want to provide you, like model best for particular?
Yeah, so that's something we are definitely trying to solve as well. So for example, obviously when you do image generation, there are lots of models, right? Like so many models can do it in different ways. We have all these suggestions. You can pick whichever is the closest to your use case, or maybe your business has made decision like, hey, we are on specific stack because they are like Google specific or Microsoft specific and so on. So you can pick whichever model you want, and you can search by what problem you're trying to solve, or you can actually also select by the model itself directly. Somebody else. Yes, yeah. So we have different ways to secure it. We can have the very simple kind of header auth-based kind of things, but also we have authenticated API access itself. So you can have the Firebase authenticated users only calling this, for example. You can also have the first step of it, like inside the API, based on certain inputs, check certain things. So you can fully flexible in terms of how you want to authenticate the API call. Yeah. Yeah, and another interesting thing is like this triggers itself are editable as well. Oops, I'm on the test one, but yeah, the triggers itself are actually editable as well. So if you want to create your own triggers, for example, One thing we found out is that it's not possible for us to build all integrations for all the tools that is in the worldwide, right? Like, so you can simply give the documentation of certain kind of tool you want to connect with, and it will generate the node or trigger for you. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harini, for that amazing session. That was very, very cool.